Okay, let's talk about exponents now. What does an exponent mean? What does an exponent mean? Yeah, it means to multiply that number by itself that many times. So the exponent of 2 does not mean negative 4 times 2. It means I'm going to multiply negative 4 times itself, twice. Negative 4 times negative 4. We already said a negative times a negative is a positive. What's 4 times 4? Now here, this one is different. What do you notice about the difference between A and B? What's the only difference that you're seeing there? Parentheses. Without the parentheses, it means negative 1 times 4 squared. Because there's no parentheses around the negative 4, all I'm doing is squaring the 4, and then I'm making it negative. So with the parentheses, you have positive 16. Without the parentheses, what do you have? Negative 16, because the negative was not squared. This is one of the ones that people mess up a lot too. Here, if we take negative 2 to the third power, that means I'm going to multiply negative 2 times itself how many times? 3 times. Oops, I just wrote 3 because you said 3. Okay, negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Positive 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So when you have an odd number of negatives, you're going to have a negative. When you have an even number of negatives, like in this example, you get a positive, okay? So what about this one? Negative 2 to the third power. This means negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 2. So what will that be? Negative 8. These are both negative 8, but actually for different reasons, okay? But you wouldn't really have to know the reason why because you just have negative 8 there both times. Okay, now if we have the negative 5 in parentheses, that means that's the number we're multiplying by itself 4 times. So if I have an even number of negatives, what's my sign going to be? Positive. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 to the third power is 125. If you have $1.25 5 times, you have, I'll just tell you, $6.25. Close, 6.25. Okay, so what's this one going to be? Because the negative is not inside parentheses, what will that one be for F? It'll be negative 625 because notice the negative, because there's no parentheses, you carry that negative. So you just have to really ask yourself with the parentheses, you have to say, is the negative sign included or not? If it's not in parentheses, it's not included. Yeah? This is the same exact problem right here as negative 1 times 5 to the fourth power. And the order of operations will tell us, go ahead and take 5 to the fourth power, then multiply it by a negative 1. Okay? All right. Let's see. More exponents. Oh, let's do a few more exponents. At the top of the page, G. This is saying negative 1 taken to the 804th power. Now, let's think about 1 for a minute. If you take 1 to any power, what's 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1? 1. 1 times 1 is always 1, right? So 1 to any power is always 1. How can we tell if it's going to be a negative 1 or a positive 1? It's in parentheses. Here you have what kind of number? You have an even number. Here you have an odd number. So with the even, if I take negative 1 times itself an even number of times, all those negatives partner up, they cancel out, you get a positive. Okay, what about this negative 1 to the 805 power? Yeah, actually, sorry, this should be negative 1. This one right here should be positive 1. I didn't really mean to write the word positive. I just meant to write a positive 1. Okay, so Questions so far about that? How do you write what you know or have learned about even and odd exponents? So, if you have a negative to an even power, what's the answer going to always be? It's going to be a positive. If you have a negative to an odd power, what's the answer always going to be? Negative. Okay. It's my simplified version of that. Don't worry, I will expand it after I push stop.